There can be a problem with too much empathy. um, it can really push people away and shut things down. This is Mark Silver with Heart of Business, and recently I wrote an article about 3 things that your sales pages need, and one of them was a section near the top that gives empathy to the situation that people are in. And empathy in general, this sense of witnessing someone in their struggle while still seeing them as whole and beautiful and perfect, but that they're human and they have some struggle that you can help them with, but the empathy for the experience they're having is a deeply needed piece of healing in the world, right? We all need witnessing, we all need empathy, we all need that sense of connection. However, I've been seeing a number of sales pages. I've been working with a number of folks in the learning community and elsewhere. Their sales pages, they are doing a wonderful job of bringing empathy, really zeroing in on the experience that people are having and expressing it in really powerful ways that feel really connected and don't feel manipulative, because they're not. However, too much of it. too much empathy. And I want to explain what is going on when we bring too much empathy. There's this thing, there's this dynamic where we have this tendency, I talk about this in a couple of different places in our body of work at Heart of Business, about over-explaining the familiar, that we as business owners tend to over-explain things that are familiar. And this is essentially the dynamic going on with too much empathy, is that we're going into detail, people are explaining and making empathetic guesses and just saying, oh, if you're struggling with this, this is what it must be like, and maybe it's like this, and this happens, and then this happens for you, and it, going on and really like telling the full story over several paragraphs. And there's a problem. The problem with the over-explaining the familiar is that when somebody is already familiar with something, if you start describing it to them in too much detail, they get bored. They're like, okay, I get it. Why do you keep going on? If they're already familiar, if you're describing the situation they're in, they already know it really well. And so over-explaining it creates a disconnection. But there's something even more going on with this particular kind of empathy. Because the empathy is for a situation that they are finding challenging, that your audience, people in your audience are finding challenging, and they haven't solved it yet, they're still struggling with it, over-explaining it, it goes beyond the place of like feeling seen, where they can relax and take a breath, and then moves into the place of feeling like it's being poked at. Like somebody is pressing on a wound. Because what it's doing is it's forcing the person, if they continue reading, to re-experience the challenge in a lot of detail. And this doesn't feel too good. And so you have both the boredom and the reactivation that is happening with this kind of dynamic. When I was growing up in 1980s, into the 1990s as a young adult, there was a very popular poster that seemed to be on a lot of people's walls, and it was a line sketch of a woman's face that was done with maybe 4 or 5 lines. There was like a swooping line for the hairline and a swooping line for the nose, and one for the cheekbone and one for the lips and one for the chin. It's very simple, but it was very evocative. Looking at those 4 or 5 lines, you immediately knew what it was, and your mind filled in the rest. This is the same with this kind of a situation. When somebody is really deeply familiar with the situation, you don't have to fill in so many details, and you don't have to explain it at length. You can often use a few light touches that will let people know, 1, that they feel seen, and 2, that you really get it. Like you really get it, what they're going through and what they're challenged by. So I just want to encourage you in this. I want to encourage you in bringing the empathy from a place of seeing your audience as perfect, even despite any challenges, of having deep empathy, healing empathy, a witnessing for the challenges they're experiencing, but then having a very light touch in describing it so that they can feel that empathy, but it doesn't reach a point of boredom or a place of reactivation. And this can often be done in 1 or 2 short paragraphs. I hope that's helpful. I'm curious. If you want to take a stab at it, feel free in the comments. What does a short paragraph or 2 of empathy look like for you? All right. Blessings to you and your business.